Howdy, 7th grade. Today we are going to talk about something called percent change, and I want to start off today with a bit of a question. So I've got two plants, and the first one is my tiny little flower. It's adorable. And a week ago, here's my flower. It looks great. My flower was 12 inches tall. This can be 1 week ago. Today, I'm going to say that my flower, I measured it again, and now it's up to 14 inches tall, which I think is great. But besides my flower, I also have a tree, and it is a very, very tall tree. Here it is. I'm very bad at drawing trees compared to flowers, as it turns out. That's okay. And a week ago, my tree was 25 feet tall. And today it's all the way up to 27 feet tall. So I want to know which grew more. What grew more, my flower or my tree? And of course the obvious answer here would be, well, your flower grew 2 inches and the tree grew 2 feet. So the tree definitely grew more, but I don't think that's very fair towards the flower. So we're gonna do this thing called percent change, so we can compare which one actually grew more by the percent of its height. So this is kind of a way to make it fair to compare things that are really different. So the way we're going to find percent change is we have a formula for it, which I always like things with formulas. It makes my life a lot easier. The percent change of something is going to be equal to the final minus the initial divided by the initial. And that's how we're going to find percent change. It's the final value minus the initial value divided by the initial value. And I'll show you guys how this works a little bit. So for my flower, I ended up with 14 inches. So my final value would be 14 minus my initial value, which is going to be 12. So 14 minus 12 divided by the initial. The initial is 12. That's going to give me 2 divided by 12, which is 1 over 6. Again, let me label this for my flower. We have 1 over 6, and if I do this division, 6 goes into 1, 0.16 times 6. So this would end up being 17%, or 16.66 percent, if you would rather say that. And that's going to be the percent change. I can say that my flower grew by 16.6%. over a week, which is pretty big. Next, my tree, which somehow grew 2 feet in a week, and I know that's not terribly believable, but we're going to go with it anyways. So for my tree, I'm going to use green for the tree. I'm going to do the final. So we're going to do final minus initial. My final height of the tree was 27 feet. Minus 25 was my initial. Divide by the initial, which is 25. That's going to give me 2 over 25. Which should be 0.08 or 8%. So if I look, my flower grew 17%, my tree grew 8%, so I can easily say that my flower grew more. Something that we want to do when we're dealing with these is, this says 8%, I want to note that this is an increase, because we'll also be dealing with percent decreases. 17% here is also an increase. So we're going to go on to a couple of more examples. So if I have, just for example here, the median price of a house, so the price of a house grew 20% to $288,000. I'm stealing this problem. I did not make this number, but I am going to show you guys how to solve this. So if the price of the house grew 20% to $288,000, we're going to go back to our formula. So we have our percent change. If I want to find what the original price was. original price. And my formula is that the percent change is going to be equal to, my percent change is equal to the final minus the initial divided by the initial. And I know that this grew 20% to $288,000. So what this means is my percent over here is 20%, which is going to be 2/10 or 1/5. That has to be equal to the final minus the initial. I don't know the initial, but the final I do know. 288,000 minus the initial, and that's going to be divided by the initial. So something I can do here is, because this division is distributive, if I want to split up this fraction, I can. It's going to make my life a little bit easier. So I have 1/5 equals 288,000 over the initial minus the initial over the initial. And whenever we see a fraction with the same thing on top and on bottom, we can cancel that out and say it's just 1. So now I have that 1/5 equals 288,000 over the initial minus 1. We'll keep going just a little bit. We're almost there, I promise. So what we want to do is to figure out what this initial is. And we can almost cross multiply, but we have this pesky 1 here. So to get to where I can cross multiply, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I have 1/5 plus 1 equals 288,000 over my initial, which I'm just going to write as I, so I don't have to write out the whole thing, minus 1 plus 1. If I take something, subtract 1, add 1, it stays the same, so that cancels out. 1/5 plus 1 is going to be 6/5 equals 288,000 over I. And now we finally have a simple little ratio problem that we can deal with. So we're going to solve this the same way we do our other ratio problems. We are going to cross multiply here. So we have that 6 times I equals 288,000 divided, or times, not divided by, I'm sorry, times 5. And if I do this absolutely awful multiplication here, I'll find 6 i's equal to 440,000. And then I can just divide that by 6, and what I am going to find that I will end up with, let's see, 6 goes into 1,440,000 twice here, 12, 24, 4 times, all the zeros carry. So 6 goes into that 240,000 times. And that's going to be our initial cost. And I did that by dividing, just to see a little more visually why I did that division. I'll take the actual division away. I wanted to figure out what the initial value was, so I wanted to get the initial value by itself. 6 was multiplying onto the I. So to get rid of the 6, I do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. Divide both sides by 6. 6 times something divided by 6. The 6 and the 6 cancel out because they are on opposite sides of the fraction. And I ended up with what I equals 1,440,000 divided by 6, which is going to be $240,000. So again, what we need to remember here is that our percent change, our formula, is going to be the one big thing from this lesson. And percent change is always going to be equal to final minus initial divided by the initial. So our final value minus our initial value is going to be the difference, and to make it a percent, we just divide it by the initial value, and just like that, we are done. So I will see y'all in class tomorrow. Please make sure we do the lesson practice. There are 9 problems there. They're not too terribly bad. And I will see y'all tomorrow.